The House of Assembly approved over $3.7 million in supplementary estimate on Friday, August 12th, to be charged against the Consolidated and Development Funds. Premier and Minister of Finance Honorable Ralph O'Neill moved the motion for the approval of the supplementary estimates of $3,747,570 to be charged against the Consolidated Fund for Recurrent Expenditure and $1,700,000 from the Development Fund for development expenditure, which represent monies in excess or in variation of the amount appropriated in the 2010 budget.
There will be some supplementaries, but much smaller than this. And I made a promise, I read, to get them to the House as quickly as possible, so that honorable members could know exactly the position. I would move, Mr. Speaker, that the House goes into a committee to consider these expenditure in detail, and the Financial Secretary is here to assist with the necessary explanation.
Speaking after the motion was moved, Leader of the Opposition, Dr. Orlando Smith, who supported the motion, spoke of the areas that benefited from the supplementary, which include the BVI Tours Board, Ministry of Education, CCTV cameras for the police force, and a new hospital.
Well, we have been forced, Mr. Speaker, for a schedule of additional provision, which essentially what we're doing here is what they call a cleanup SAP. That is making provision for money which have already been expended. And that is something that we have to, Mr. Speaker. We do this on a regular basis, and we're doing it now. We're speaking about just over $3 million, Mr. Speaker. Some of the big items here, Mr. Speaker, for example, refers to the Area 62790 special project in the Premier's office, Mr. Speaker. And this is a figure of $730,000 for the Tourist Board. This additional monies of $730,000, I understand, is a necessary expenditure for a consultancy service. And my hope, Mr. Speaker, is that with the additional funds that have been voted to the Tourist Board, and with this additional $730,000, that we'll see a result in the increase in our tourism figures during the upcoming season, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when it comes to the Ministry of Education Consultancy Services 62700, $552,000 for consultancy for the selection of a medical school for the territory. Mr. Speaker, I've spoken on this issue on occasion, and know what my position is. But I understand that the report has been in, and there will be a selection. Mr. Speaker, we will wait to see the outcome of this consultation. In the item 25100, Police Infrastructure Development, we have an additional expenditure of $500,000. And this, Mr. Speaker, part of this went to the purchase of vehicles and partial payment on the CCTV equipment. Mr. Speaker, this is something that I think we all have been speaking about over the past year and more, in fact, the past several years, because we recognize the need to improve the security of this country.
Dr. Smith also made mention of the $700,000 for the festival committee, monies allocated in addition to the budgeted amount. He said that although the Minister for Culture tries to control festival expenses, they continue to be in the area of $1.3 million, and at some point the decision has to be made as to whether or not this figure will be lessened.
In the other areas, Mr. Speaker, grant to Festival Committee, telephones, and grant to Recreation Trust. Again, these are monies, additional monies. Grant to the Festival Committee, $700,000. Grant to telephones and faxes, $200,000, and grant to Recreation Trust, $417,000. Mr. Speaker, the Minister of Education has being quite explicit in the desire to try to control the expenses as far as festival is concerned. And but the expenses continue to be in the area of about $1.3 million, Mr. Speaker. And I think at some point we'll have to make a decision as a government of the country about festival. Whether we're going to seriously try to get this back down to a figure like 600,000, are we going to realize or recognize, Mr. Speaker, that if we are to continue the festival as we're doing it, that we have to meet the increased cost, the increased necessary cost, Mr. Speaker.
Over the years, legislators have expressed their concern that the various government departments should operate within their budget, which would reduce the number of requests for supplementary estimates to be brought to the House for approval.